and we noticed the trends of those that are more successful than others. What are they doing? Why are these guys that are in the same market as you and going after the same cases and clients as you, why are they getting them and you're not? And so we wanted to spend a little time going over that. And this is going to be a series of webinars that we're going to be doing. The first one is defining your perfect client. Bless you, Mike. Thank you. And that's very, very important. The number one differentiator that we see for clients, lawyer clients, doctor clients, whatever, is if you know your target, it's much easier to get them in the door. And so today we're going to spend about an hour talking about how to get your perfect clients. Then the next month we're going to talk about how to attract the perfect client. What specifically, we're going to get into a little bit of it today. We have some examples. But specifically, how do you attract that perfect client that we've defined today? And then month 3 we'll be discussing how to convert that perfect client. And then month 4, retain that perfect client, and then measure. So we've got a series of really interesting topics that will help you grow your practice bigger than you've ever known it before. Now, it doesn't mean to say you have to wait for everything, obviously, to start implementing. You know, the first thing is defining your perfect client. So with that, Mindy, oh, and let me just say this to everybody. We would like your questions. Please send them in as you have them on your mind. Right there in the little chat box there, you can add your questions. And we will answer them at the end of the, probably about 1:45 Eastern time. We'll start answering those questions. If we don't get to them all, we'll email you responses. Anyway, all right, so Mindy, thank you very much for joining us out there in California. Mike and I are in Virginia, and Mindy's out in California. And so, Mindy, thanks for putting this together. So why don't you tell us, how do we get our perfect client?
That is what today is all about. So, and thanks, Tom. I'm excited about this topic and the next few months, too, what we're going to be going over. And just so you all know, too, just like Tom said, we're going to be diving into this a little bit more over the next few months, but even what we're going to tell you today are things that you can start right away. So you don't have to wait till we're done with the whole series to finally go after your perfect client. You can start after this hour presentation. So let's get started. So this is something that, you know, we hear now and again, and it's something that, like Tom mentioned, that we think about too with our company. You know, are you getting cases, but they're not the type you really want? So you might be getting phone calls, you might be getting contacts, but they're just not the cases that you would define as your ideal ones. They're ones that, you know, you'll take, but definitely don't fall into the realm of perfect.
And this is different for everybody. Let's back
Right.
up. I mean, this is different depending upon what kind of law you practice or what kind of business you're in. It doesn't matter what kind of business you're in. You still have the same requirement to define your perfect client. We hear this, and you're being nice, Mindy, because we hear it all the time.
We do. I was being nice.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, they've got clients of 10,000 visits, and you know who you are that are on this call. You know who you are. You got 10,000 visits coming to your site, 5,000 visits, but they're not the cases that you're looking for. Well, that's not the Internet's fault. That's the bait that you put out there, okay? And so what we're teaching you today, or what we're going to be teaching you, and what we try to constantly teach you, is that you have to create the right kind of content to attract the right kind of client. That's what this is all about. It's interesting how we will talk to one client, we'll be like, so how's it going? You know, waiting to hear, you know, some horrible story. And then it's like, oh, it's great. Oh, we're getting all the great cases. And, we're so busy. And here's another interesting thing too, right, Mindy, is that if you're spending a lot of time, more time on your web marketing and trying to do SEO stuff and less time working on clients, then you're doing something wrong. It's not about SEO. It's not about keywords. It's not about getting on page 1 for all the keywords that everybody promises you. That is much later. I'm not saying that that's not important, but in order to make that the most effective, you have to figure out what what particular client is looking for. Not what the other guy's client is looking for, but what you want. Not what the biggest firm that you compete with is doing, but what you need to be doing for you and your practice. And that's sometimes a stretch for our clients to understand, but we do that ourselves. We have to, because a lot of times it's shiny new, you get excited about a new opportunity, but then it ends up costing you way more than it should have. And so you have to be very disciplined when it comes to all this. Anyway, let's go on.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that it's what we're going over today, what you just said, it's the whole quality over quantity. I mean, you can have 10,000 visitors, and you could be on page 1 if you're obsessed with SEO and you're doing all these things too, but if they're not the cases you want, I mean, wouldn't you rather have even 100 visitors? I mean, that's a low number, and they're all great. I mean, you have to make sure, it's a huge example, but you have to make sure that you are doing all the right things so that the people that are contacting you are the ones you want to be contacting you. You don't want to have to go through the whole mess of sorting through, well, I don't want these cases, I don't want those cases. Start out right, and that's what we're telling you today. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. So this is basically what we just said. I mean, you might be doing all of the work. You may have listened to our webinars before, and you're adding content to your website. You're doing link building. You're involved in social media, but still, you're not getting the perfect client. And that goes to the fact that maybe you haven't yet defined, like officially defined who that perfect client is. And that's what we're going to be talking about here. So now what? Again, you've done all these things, but still you're not getting the cases that you want or the patients that you want. It means that it's time to define your perfect client, because everything you do needs to be based on this definition. So that means any of the content that you write, any of the links that you go after, any of the social media posts that you do, any of the books that you write, all of them have to be geared towards that perfect client. And we're not talking about like a broad, this is my target market. My target market are injured people in Southern California. That's not the definition of a perfect client. You have to get more detailed than that.
Or they got good insurance. I mean,
right.
That's not it, or they were horribly maimed. I mean, like, you need to be very specific, and that might be part of it, but that is one element of lots of different factors. I mean, I think that we have 20 or 30 factors that goes in our perfect client list, and it's not a one-time event. It is something like that you need to continue to hone and sharpen because you might think that this is a kind of client that you want or kind of case that you want because, wow, look at the money that you're going to get from it. But then the cost of acquisition is so high, and then actually when you get the case, the resources required to do it are way beyond anything that you had thought about. And so then that does not become your perfect case or perfect client anymore. So it's ever changing. And as your firm grows, then cases that you might have taken in, you don't want anymore. Because, as Mindy said, you might be taking the stuff in that you have to now in order to pay the bills because you haven't defined your perfect client up until now, and you're just taking anything that you can, slip and falls. I don't want those kinds of cases, but hey, they pay. I hear this a lot. Hey, they pay for you, Tom. Hey, we're trying to teach you how to do it better and faster, and in many, many, many cases, content is responsibility. And link building and SEO and everything is responsibility of the client, you guys. And we have more people that do it yourself than we help, and a lot of people that are doing it themselves contract other SEO companies, which counter what we explain to do. Listen, it's not that difficult. The number one thing is making, regardless of your SEO, who are using for SEO, regardless, the number one thing is providing the correct bait. If you're going to go fishing, then you can't go out there with a gun and just start shooting wildly into the water like Mike does. I heard that about him.
I'm a magnificent fisherman.
Anyway, you have to go with the right tools. So not to get too far on that, because we're going to continue to be talking about it. You just really need to go in there with your eyes wide open and stop blaming and stop making excuses, because this works. It works. And it's not a one-time, let's turn on the website, and, oh, it didn't work. That isn't how it works. You have to continue to refine it. You can't just put gas in your car once and drive it till forever. You have to you have to put more gas, change the oil, change the tires, do whatever. It's no different than anything else. Okay, I'm done with that little one.
All right, well, let's move forward to, okay, we're talking about you have to be detailed, so what does that mean? What Tom just said. We have a quiz for you. These are some quiz you need to sit down and take for yourself. So after this webinar, these are some things you need to think about. So we'll just go through them, one by one. Ask yourself, what type of cases do your perfect clients have? And again, be specific. I mean, don't just be general. Think to yourself, okay, if I only got these kinds of cases all day long, what cases would those be? For some people, I know that one of our attorneys who's in criminal defense said, well, actually be the people who are accused of selling drugs. That's actually their ideal case. You each have your own definition, but he's very specific on that. So then you need to ask yourself, are there any particular details about these cases, or is there a common theme? And some examples, certain injuries, legal issues, insurance, kind of history behind the case, that type of thing. And third, where should your perfect clients live? How far are you willing to travel? How far do you think your clients are willing to travel? I mean, that's a big thing. And each area is different because I'm in Orange County. People don't mind driving all over the place because it's just way of life. There's traffic. You're going to be in the car for an hour. No big deal. But not every place is like that. I came from Arizona where people thought if you had to drive 15 minutes, you were going across the world. So, I mean, it's different in every area. So you need to think about your location and how far you're willing to go out. And even people, some of our clients will think about like what particular neighborhoods or locations they want their clients to come from. So it could have to do with the certain background of those type of people. So all these things you need to keep in mind. Another question.
Yeah, and I mean, it has to do with community too. And I know we're going to talk about that in a minute. But where do they live? And by defining what types of cases do your perfect clients have? Right? What kind of cases do you want? That will immediately eliminate a ton of unnecessary work when you do step one. Step two refines that even more. And I put, we got injuries, legal issues, insurance, and history. You need to find commonality based on the kinds of cases and clients. What historically, if you've been in business, if you've been practicing for 10, 20 years, you know this stuff. It's in your brain, but you probably haven't written it down. And so now the internet and the way that marketing is going is forcing you to do this. So listen, the guys that are doing this, it's working. If they've always done it, it's always worked. I mean, like, this is the #1 marketing thing ever. But the internet has been sloppy. So you haven't really had to do it as much because there's been other games that you can do. But that's what's happening really is Google, and especially with Google Local and Google Places and Google Plus and whatever else we're going to call it in the future, that's really driving it home. And that's a great point that you just said, Nini, about where does your perfect client live? Where does your perfect client eat? Where does your perfect client go to the movies? What restaurants? Where do they go shopping? Where do these people commune? And that's where you should be as well. And that goes into the next questions. How old are they? Male or female? Does it matter to you? Maybe for some it does. If you're selling products to women only, then obviously females are a majority of your perfect client, although probably a campaign selling to husbands would work as well. But these are the kinds of things that will set winners apart from the losers. Losers always cry about why it doesn't work, and winners figure out ways to make it work better. Yeah,
we have more questions. So those were the first 5. I mean, all these are important, and I think you even touched on some of these too.
Yeah.
Their interests. Yeah, where are these people? What are their backgrounds? Even their personal characteristics. I mean, we have that on here, Tom, for a reason. I mean, you have to make sure that you even personally connect with the person. You don't want to be butting heads with your clients. You want to make sure that they're going to listen to your advice. I mean, there's nothing worse, I imagine, for you guys than to spend time with the client, tell them what they need to do, give them the advice, and then they decide that they've watched enough Law and Order that they don't need to listen to you, that they know enough about how things go.
We don't know what that's like at all.
Nope. So these are things that, you need to get into the nitty-gritty details here of your client.
Yeah. I mean, we've just listed a few here, but you can go on and on. It depends on what kind of law you practice, or if you're a doctor, what you're doing there. I mean, a bankruptcy lawyer has a different kind of client than a personal injury client. Bankruptcy tends to be more volume but less dollar in the door, but you're getting paid. A PI firm is more contingency based. It's like going to a lottery. You hope this works out. And in order to get those bigger cases, in order to attract more volume of the cases that you need, if you're doing bankruptcy and DUI and traffic and whatnot, the other thing is, what this does is it establishes another thing called trust and credibility in their world, in your perfect client's world. So, going and doing a blind search is one thing, but that is really just the beginning. People are way smarter now in how they look and find services. They're not just going to do one thing. And so you want to be found or seen or branded everywhere that your perfect client is. And that's why we put these other things. Personal characteristics, that can mean a lot of different things. What are their interests? What are their backgrounds? And, do they have two heads? Or do they only have, one arm because you're trying to sell them, what are they called? Prosthetics? There you go. There you go. It's a perfect example. Personal characteristics. Only want people with, not all their limbs. You just don't know. And then, where do they shop online? Where do they go? Are you targeting people that run for a particular product or a service? I mean, like, this is great for PI lawyers. We've talked about this. Those that focus on bike accidents, those that focus on, pedestrian accidents. They can advertise in running stores and in biking stores, participate with them, participate in community and charity organizations. What are the habits? Where does your perfect client hang out on the weekend, and start hanging out there? Get to know them better. You want them to get to know you so they can trust you, because who are they going to choose, or who are they going to recommend when someone, a loved one or a friend, asks them if they know a lawyer? Who are they going to recommend? Their friend, you.
No, and I'm just thinking, as you're talking about that, I mean, I just moved, and so I've been in the process of finding a new doctor. And so I kind of went through the same thing. I wanted, well, hopefully I'm their perfect client. And then I went through the whole thing of, I found some names. I went on the insurance company's website. I went on the doctor's website. I went to Health Grades. I was looking for more than just, does this doctor take new patients? I wanted to know where they graduated from. I wanted to know what organizations they volunteered at, if it said on their website. I wanted to know what publications that, I might go above and beyond, but I want to know what publications they've contributed to. I wanted to see if they aligned with, things that are important to me, And so, I mean, I think that that's an example with a doctor, but people do the same thing with lawyers now. Because like you said, I wouldn't have done that a couple years ago. I wouldn't have done that kind of research. But now it's so much easier to find that kind of information. So I'm going to go through and see if this person, if I think there's going to be a good fit there too.
Yeah, I mean, and you're that's the thing, is like, lawyers think that it's just all you have to do is get on page one for certain keywords. That's what the other guy's doing. But listen to what Mindy just said. She didn't say, I went and typed in, California California doctor. I mean, come on. She's doing research that has nothing to do with SEO or nothing to do with vanity keywords. She knows what she's looking for, and she's looking for someone that other people can provide testimonials and reviews on.
Absolutely.
Other people like Mindy, other people that are similar to her. So that's why, and so there is a doctor where Mindy is his perfect client. And so think about it that way. Think about your habits, gang. Think about when you're looking for a doctor or a service that you have to trust, an accountant service. You think about just looking for a web developer. When you guys did this, did you just like type in web design for lawyers and that's all you did? No. That might have been one of your first searches, but honestly, the most contacts that we get is Foster Web Marketing, even though we come up for almost anything you can conceive of. Most of the contacts that you guys get are really for your name and your firm name. Why? Because most people have done the research already before they contact you. So you have to be in all of those places and more. All the things that Mindy brought up, all those areas where people are going to be looking for a solution to their problem with the service, especially a legal service where people are really scared of it big time, even more than a doctor. They're scared to deal with lawyers. And so your objective is to break down that distrust barrier and become that person that they trust, because that's one person, and that one person has influence to hundreds of other people. So if you impact that one person and that one person trusts you, you have the opportunity to impact their hundreds of friends. Okay. What's next?
Yeah, well, the next thing, I mean, it's basically what we've just said. I mean, so once you take that quiz, you've thought about all those things, you need to write down your description. I mean, there's something powerful about actually writing something down. So you need to actually take that time, you've answered those questions. You know, maybe it's a paragraph or two, maybe it's bolded points that you have. But this is what my perfect clients look like. And put it down, share it with your staff, because everything you're going to be doing is going to be now wrapped around that definition. Everything you do, which we're going to go over in the next few slides.
Yeah, and you know, this is really the difference maker. This kind of nitty-gritty detail, because most people don't do it, and probably 98% of you won't do it either. But this is really the difference maker. I've got a great book that I want to recommend to everybody that are just finishing up called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. We'll send a link out in our notes, but you can get that on Amazon. It's been around for a while. I'm sure some of you have heard it. Some of you probably already read it. But it's really, I mean, it's something you can read over and over again. The Slight Edge. It's really what the most successful people in the world really are just doing, 1 or 2 or 5% better than everyone else, because most people just go for status quo. Most people want the easy button. Most people want to skip a whole step. They don't want to, water the garden or fertilize it or weed it. They just want to plant the seeds and then pull out their vegetables. That's totally unrealistic, but that's what most people think. And so what you need to do is let them think that way, and you do these things which make you different. Big time different.
Exactly. And so we're going to now go through an example, and the next slide that I have before I go there is my disclaimer. We're using bankruptcy practice. So let's say you have a bankruptcy practice and you're working on defining your perfect client. The list that I'm about to show you is not, your list should be more detailed than this. This is just for example purposes.
Yes,
so,
we're just showing you examples. It is not meant for you to say you're wrong and all that stuff. It's designed for you to take this and do something actionable with it.
Exactly, and you would want more on this list too. That's kind of where I'm going with it. So just for example purposes, because we're going to use examples throughout the rest of the presentation, let's say that your perfect clients include people who live in or near Fairfax, Virginia. They have not filed for bankruptcy yet. They're just now considering it. They're 30 years old and older, and they are still employed. So again, you'd want more details in that with your perfect client definition, but this is just a start. But then let's say you don't really know. I mean, you take a look at your current, client database, but you're not really sure, like, would there be more women I should target? Should I target more men? What are the kinds of things that this group is looking for online? What are the things that are important to them? I'm going to show you a tool that you can use, and I don't want to spend too much time on it because we have a lot to cover, but I want you to see that you can look at the demographics. And let me, I'm not as smooth as Tom with going back and forth between the internet and the PowerPoint, so just bear with me. But I already looked it up. So this is Yahoo Clues. You can get to it by typing in clues.yahoo.com. And can you see my screen okay? Before I start. Okay. Before I start going through it and you all don't see anything. So I just typed in, I went to Yahoo Clues, and then I went on trend analysis, and I typed in filing bankruptcy, because I'm thinking, well, I'm still trying to figure out who is my perfect client. I want more demographic information. Well, look what it pulled up for me. I can see the ages, the most popular searches, at least for online, but this would be incorporated with your definition. Looks like ages 35 to 44 are the ones that are searching for this online. I think that's pretty interesting, and that's going to come into play as you're defining your perfect client and you're working on your marketing campaign. some of the, I'm going to go into the search information too, but you can see it breaks it down. And if, to me, I look at this and I think, well, it's not a huge number towards women or men. It's pretty split between. So anything that I do, I'm going to gear towards, both groups here. And that's important too, just as a side note, as we talk about content. You have to remember that if you do define that like females are my target market or males, you're going to be writing different. Females are more about feelings. I mean, I think we all know that. And men are more about information. So you got to make sure that when you're writing, if you're writing to women, you're incorporating feelings into that. You don't necessarily need to do that with men. Just get to the information to the point. So that's
I'm offended.
side note as we get to content. Did I generalize too much? But
just the facts, Mindy. Hey, listen.
Just the facts.
Here's another fact. You can just on bankruptcy and divorce. Okay, if you are a bankruptcy and a DUI and a divorce attorney, let me tell you one of the best resources to get content ideas. TMZ. You can consult your TMZ app every morning and get about 3 or 4 content ideas to write about, because celebrities are notoriously getting in trouble for DUIs, bankruptcy, and divorce. Now, I don't know if this particular client is on the phone, but this particular client that's a divorce attorney resisted this advice for months and months and months, and then did it, and now I don't ever hear from them again. Why? Because they're busy with cases. Whereas before it's like, it's not working, it's not happening. Okay, why don't you write about what people are interested in that has to do with your practice area? All of a sudden, voila, we're getting all these visitors, all this traffic, right, Mike?
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about. Mindy knows what I'm talking about too.
Right, and there's a reason for that, and it's because people want to identify, like they might, they're on TMZ, they see it on the news, and this celebrity got in trouble for DUI, and they're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm in the same situation, I'm going to read more about their story, and they go online. I mean, that's the whole thought process behind it, is that they want to identify with that story, and if you've written about that story, they find you. It's great.
And yeah, think about, they do a search, and let's say, what I think, scroll up a little bit there on your screen. I think one of the top searches, which is always there, Lindsay Lohan. Good Lord. Who cares anymore about Lindsay Lohan? But, it's a top search. But Lindsay Lohan, well, maybe because, I just learned on TMZ, she just went on to the shopping spree with her little brother, $3 grand in one day, $3 grand in the next day. See, I'm in the know about this stuff, right? But you can talk about, hey, I thought Lindsay Lohan's in bankruptcy, but yet she can go out and do this. Why? I really don't care about Lindsay Lohan, but I read that article. Right? You can do the same thing. What are other people talking about? And that's what this great little tool that Mindy is showing you, because that will show you, hey, what to write about to hit your target market.
Exactly. And one more thing on here before we go back to the presentation. Scrolling at the bottom, it gives you some golden information, in my opinion. It tells you before someone typed in filing bankruptcy, they first were looking at bankruptcy protection. They were looking at bankruptcy attorney filing. Well, that's not a great term there. Chapter 7 bankruptcy and bankruptcy lawyers. That's what they searched first. And then they typed in filing bankruptcy. Because when you search, maybe sometimes you type in something and you decide to refine your search. So that's what they did here. And here's what they searched after. So that's, to me, that would give me an indication of what I need to be creating for content, maybe even with my social media, videos. These are great things to incorporate. And then other related searches, free credit report, Chapter 7, bankruptcy, debt consolidation. You get all these nuggets of information in there. And this is free. So this goes with the whole theme, with your perfect client. This gives you more information.
Well, let me ask you a question, Mindy. Well, if Google is 80% of search, why would I use a Yahoo tool?
That's a good question. Well, right now, Google doesn't have anything that's going to give you the demographics, and really the search patterns here on Yahoo are going to mimic that of Google. It's going to be...
Great answer.
Yeah.
Good answer. That's true. Bing and Yahoo, just because somebody goes there, that doesn't change anything. Google might own most of search, but the patterns are the same regardless, and this is a great tool that'll get you from I don't have a clue about what to do to, okay, here's some actual things that I can test.
All right, here. Okay, can you see my PowerPoint and back? I think I did that as smooth as you do, Tom. Okay, good. Good. All right, so this is what we've been saying. So now you know you're going to spend time on your perfect client, the definition, but what do you do with that definition? You have it, it's great, it's on paper, everyone in your office knows about it. Well, so what? You've got to actually do something with it now. So we're going to break it down. And this is what we're going to really be going into in the next few months. So we're just touching on this information. I mean, really, we could go hours talking about all this. But I want you to walk away today with some things you can do. So let's first start with content. You know who your perfect client is. Especially we looked, let's use the example of bankruptcy. And we know that some of the keyword searches people were looking for, we know the age bracket that seems to be more prevalent in those searches. We are going to now create content around that. Now, again, I already set this example and already offended Tom once. But yeah, if women are searching, you want to make sure your content's a certain way. If men are more of the searchers, it needs to be created accordingly. So your topic should be in line with your perfect client too. Don't just throw content onto your website for the sake of throwing content. I see that. I won't be as nice about this one. I see that over and over and over again because we talk about you need to add content, you need to add content. So then all of a sudden there's this content on a website that's being put up that's just not quality. It doesn't really relate. I mean, maybe it's something that you find interesting, in the legal world, but no one's ever going to search for that. They don't really care. That's not what we're talking about here. They need to be topics that are in line with your perfect client. If you know what's important to them, you know what kind of things that they're looking for, interested in, you use Yahoo Clues, maybe some of the searches that they're using too, those should be your topics. And again, think about what your perfect clients seem to care about the most. But that's super important. Don't create content just for the sake of creating content. All right, we'll move to link building. So link building, I know, is one of those more confusing subjects. It's not as crystal clear as content, but really link building is PR on the web. That's how you need to think about it. You need to be looking for sites that are important to your perfect clients. So if you know that your perfect clients care about certain organizations or that they're local based, they're in your area in a certain radius, then you need to be looking for websites that are also local in a certain area and start building relationships with them. So maybe it's a local website, maybe it's an industry-specific website that you think might be of interest to your perfect clients. So for the example of bankruptcy, it might be a website that's about financial literacy that you find that produces bankruptcy information, or a credit counseling company that would be willing to post your article that you write about bankruptcy, or maybe even offer your free book. I mean, you have to go where your clients are. So you need to think about that. And like we keep saying and what Tom mentioned before, it's going to be different for everybody in each practice. So when you look at a website and you think it's relevant, look for an opportunity to get on there. Can you contribute an article? Will they accept a guest blog post? Again, can you offer your book there? If it's a blog or some kind of forum, can you also post interesting comments there too? You want to be really careful with that. You don't want to come across that you're a spammer or you're just trying to advertise on there, even if that's in the background of what you're really trying to do. You want to post information that's going to be helpful to your perfect clients. So you might also look for certain directories or service websites that your perfect clients might use too. So these are things, again, that's going to be different for everyone, but they are important too.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because some examples, research directories or other service websites that might be used by your perfect clients. I think some of the immediate examples, and we got to be careful of the word directories, but like I think Angie's List is a great example, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I use Angie's List before anything else, by the way, me personally. I just had my floors redone. No one really cares, but it's an important thing because it costs $5 grand. It's not cheap, and it's important. It was definitely important to my wife. And we went to Angie's List, and we had 3 or 4 people come in there. Then we checked them out. We didn't go like hardwood floor person. That doesn't tell me anything, honestly, about how good someone is or not. In the days of early web, it would be, wow, they're on the website. They must be smart. They got a website. They're on the internet. Awesome. But now you have to really back up what you do, because the generation, Mike's generation, they're not fooled. These people, They post anything about themselves. They're not afraid like you guys are. They'll put anything out there. And so it's a different mentality, and they're going to check on you. And so Angie's List, with Yelp,
Google Plus Local is huge. You have to be up on there. Make sure that you're active on your profile, that you've claimed it, which means that you have to get active with a Google Plus profile. So that's huge. That's key. That has huge implications for search.
Yep. And Mike, we were just talking this morning about dentists, right?
Yep.
And I asked you, where do you go to your dentist? And what was your answer? You don't have to tell the dentist.
Well, I said,
It was why. Why was he your dentist?
I use my dentist because his follow-up campaign is fantastic, and also he's in Rotary with my dad, so it was a referral.
Yep, a referral because of trust. So because of a relationship built on trust, he was referred. And but you got a phone call this morning, and you were like, what did you say to me?
I said dentists have the greatest follow-up campaigns.
Bang. Okay. Are you saying dentists are better than lawyers? Really? Are you guys doing that? No. Come on. We can learn from other industries. Dentists do have great follow-up procedures. I mean, they have a lot of volume to move. Doctors have, some better than others. But anyway, get in those places where people are. Yeah, Angie's List, Yelp, of course, like you said, Google Local Plus. There's more coming, and I know we're going to get to, maybe it's the next slide, on social media.
Social media, yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah, social media, I mean, like, good Lord. I mean, social media is not, here's what social media is not. I set up a Facebook page and a Twitter page. That's not social media. That's like building a website you never had content to. Social media is another opportunity for you. Don't look at it like, oh my gosh, it's the most horrible thing ever, because it's another thing I have to do. But Mike and I just had a meeting last week, and I said, Mike, there's so much going on, we haven't done it yet. Sit down every day and post social media and spend some time thinking about social media, not just dumb stuff. And Lord knows I'm guilty of putting dumb stuff up there too. But meaningful stuff that people are interested in, and also personal stuff. People want to hear about your personal stuff, not necessarily what you had for dinner or things like that. They're not really interested in that. They don't really want to know about, the specifics about your vacation. But it was interesting because I had a client recently, Michael Sale, who just did a redesign with us. He was in Rehoboth Beach. I go to Rehoboth Beach all the time. So I was like, wow, that's something interesting that we have in common. So now I'm going to have a different kind of relationship or discussion with Michael Sale when I talk to him again. That's how that works. That bridges gaps between people that because of the speed of the internet, because of how we communicate so much better, that bridges relationships and builds trust faster. So if you get on it and do it, then that will help you faster. And the longer that you don't do it or do it wrong or just ignore it, the quicker that people are going to outpace you. And you're going to be like, what happened? What happened to me? Because you are likely the same people that waited to get on the web or have not invested in the website the way that you should. Website is the best marketing vehicle, or the web in general, is the best and the least expensive, the best return on investment marketing vehicle you could possibly do. It's cheaper and more measurable than anything else. TV, radio, magazines, all the Yellow Pages, all the stuff that you've done in the past. It's the best return on investment. So invest in it. That doesn't mean it's free. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't pay for stuff. But invest in it because it will make the biggest difference the fastest for you than anything else. And it's just going to get faster. It's not going to get slower. There's more stuff coming down the pipe. Right? Clouds? What about clouds? Cloud, that's another one. That one's got me crazy. Yeah, and then RSS feed to your social media accounts, but that's like just
yeah, and I'm putting that on there because that's like the very minimal. I mean, that's just to get your content that you're creating to your perfect client so that's showing up on your social media accounts. But if you, same with what you said earlier, Tom, like if you create your business pages and you think you're done, same thing with the RSS feed. If you hook that up and your blogs are posting automatically, you're still not done. I mean, you have to be personal, you have to post comments, you have to respond to other people's comments. I mean, there's more to it.
It's no different
These are-
than, all right, we got football season coming up. I know it's your favorite subject, Mindy. Football's coming. So it's preseason, and we're watching it, right? And how many of you are frustrated with your team already? You're like, are you phoning it in again? Well, how about, like, really playing? And it's no different. You know, like, how about putting some energy into your plays? You know? And that's the same conversation that I want to have with all of you. Put some energy behind your marketing. You know, stop just phoning it in. Stop thinking that, oh, I just push the button, wham, it's done. Is that how football's played? They just go out there and do the same thing every day? Do all the teams do the same stuff? Do all the teams copy everyone else? Maybe to some degree. But they continue to try and be better and better, or the coach gets fired, or the quarterback gets fired. It's simple. Everything that we're talking about here can equate to anything else in life. And the point is that you get what you give. If you put into it, if you put a lot into it, you're going to get way more back. But if you put nothing into it, you're going to get nothing back. So that's the third point. Get interesting and informative. And it's not, you know, the comments, it's really about everything that you're doing on your website, everywhere. Be interesting and relevant and informative. Don't just rely on some blogger at college or your kid that knows how to update a website to add content where you're trying to get, you know, 7-figure cases. That's absolutely ludicrous to think that way. So stop thinking that way and start doing it this way, and you'll be successful that much faster. And make your other point, make the conversation two-way. Ask questions, right? One of the best lawyer, and now it's a PI firm, but that's GR Law Firm down there in Dallas, Texas. Oh, God, they're fantastic social media people. They do contests. They do all kinds of things to attract their perfect client to their social media. They get more clients from their social media than almost in their newsletter and all their outreach than they do from organic web search. I mean, that's where most of their good stuff is coming in from. I'm not saying that they don't get, that's their feeder to everything else. But you need to look at it. That's where your good clients are going to come in, not from, you know, Virginia personal injury attorney or Virginia bankruptcy attorney. That's not how they come. All right, next.
Well, and this is a big one. I mean, community involvement, and this is what you started touching on in the beginning, that if you know where your perfect clients are, you want to be in their community. I mean, that's the whole thing. And that, you know, I put some examples here. I have more specific things, but, you know, what does it mean to be involved in the community? It can mean so many things, and I've seen so many examples from our clients. But it could be as simple, like with using the bankruptcy example, you know, holding seminars on life after bankruptcy, you know, or what to expect, you know, before, during, and after bankruptcy. Could be an event that you're sponsoring. So maybe it's a local, I'm trying to even think what kind of event. Like I know that I keep thinking of Milwaukee and how they have that motorcycle rally coming up. And so that's a big event, and one of our clients is involved in that. I mean, it could be something like that. It could be a small event. It could even be a little league team that you're sponsoring. Or maybe give out scholarships too. I mean, there's so many things.
Look, there's other people that have done this very well. Eben Abraham up there in Wisconsin is a fantastic example of a law firm, a very successful law firm. I mean, they're the #1 PI firm up in Wisconsin. They have reinvested back in the community in so many ways. I mean, Jim Folliard and I went up there a few months ago, as some people know, to do some on-location video shoots, and we did some. We had some clients in there. We had some community people that they work with. I was frankly blown away by what people said about the law firm, and it was very impressive. And you know, it ain't that hard to give back. Give back. You can send a $5,000 check to that SEO guy that promises page 1 results in a month, which is all just snake oil. Or you could take $5,000 and make 5 $1,000 checks and give them to Little League, and you're going to have in your perfect clients, you know, Little League area, whatever, or football or whatever, buy uniforms, you know, with your logo on it. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with that will instantly develop trust. And wow, who was that guy? What was that firm out there that did that? I mean, it's not that hard. That is way easier. And you will feel much better about yourself than giving $5,000 for pay-per-click. So do this first. Do this stuff first. Get going on this. Get your name out there first. You will be amazed at the referral process that happens. That is the difference between the winners and the losers that we see across the board. Those that are involved in the community win every time.
And on that note too, you talked about knowing where your perfect clients, where they shop, where they go to the movies, where they congregate. If you are able to get enough details where you even know the local businesses that your perfect clients are going to, you need to even think about creating relationships with those local businesses. It still goes with community involvement. I mean, and that could look like something like a workshop, like going to the bankruptcy example. Maybe it's a workshop you hold and you bring in different businesses, whether they sponsor it, if it's a certain restaurant, they provide the food, but you're involving your perfect clients where they go, the places that they hang out and they congregate. So you're bringing those local businesses in. So there's different ways you can do it, or maybe, if it's a local business and you have a book, about bankruptcy, then your perfect clients go there. See if you can donate some books. The list of things that you can do is so long. There's so many different things you can do. You just need to really think about your practice, your perfect clients, and just have a brainstorming session. What is this going to look like for us?
Another thing that I did that I recently got on the board, I was asked to be on the board of my kids' school. I've had 3 graduates from this private school here it's in Annandale, Virginia. And of course my wife works there, and the 2 younger ones are going to go through there. Now that's a school. Now, what does that mean? Lots of parents go through that. A few lawyers go through that. The other opportunity, though, is the link building opportunity, right, Mindy? Some of these places that you can participate have huge link opportunities that will, if you get one link from a .org or .edu or something like that, that's a high authority link that could immediately wipe out 2,000 of your competition's crappy links from some directory. That's the other hidden piece of community and charity involvement that a lot of people don't think about.
Right, and that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Well, again, what we're talking about today is just more of an intro of the webinars to come. But there's more things. There are more things that you can do. You can create an interesting book or report. If you haven't done that yet, that's like one of the first things you should have done. Go write a book or contact us. We'll do it for you. But you need to have something that's written towards your perfect clients. And again, don't just create something for the sake of creating it. Make sure it's interesting and that it's going to compel the reader to turn around and contact you. That's what it's all about. You also need to think about your follow-up marketing campaign. I think that dentist example, Mike, that you're talking about, that's a prime example. You have to follow up with your perfect clients. Don't think that they're going to just automatically remember you when the time comes that they need you, because they're not. Let's just face it. So you need to stay in front of them. And paid advertising, that's something we'll talk about down the road. But maybe you do look into, when I say paid advertising, pay-per-click is one thing, but I'm even talking about if you know what websites your clients go on, see if you could purchase an ad there, or if it's a magazine that's local, maybe that's something you think about too. So you need to be sure that you're always where your perfect clients are going. And you're still not done. You have to monitor your results. Don't just do your marketing campaign in the dark and be blind towards what's going on. You need to make sure that it's working and make adjustments as you see necessary too. So with that, there are some actions that you can do right away, which we talked about throughout the webinar, but these are things that when you're done and you hang up from the call, that you can get going on instantly. So number 1, first and foremost, you have to write out your description of your perfect clients. You can't do any of the other steps until you do this one. So think about it. Take our quiz that we had. I know this presentation will be loaded on our website, so you can view that again, but spend some time working on that. Once you know who your perfect clients are, then create a list of content topics that are suitable for them and develop your editorial calendar. And with that, I just mean just know what you're going to post and when you're going to post it. Last month we went over how you can do this all in DSS. You can put your content in there. You can have things posting each day. there's so many easy ways to do it. So you need to make sure that all of the content that you're creating, though, is for your perfect clients. Third, research websites that are relevant to your perfect clients, and that goes with the link building. Reach out to the contact listed on that website and start building a relationship.
I have okay, keep going.
Okay, okay, well, I have two more, and then I'm sure you have more to add. Create a social media calendar, too, so you know what to post and when to post. You also need to be personal on there, too, which goes with the two-way conversation we're talking about. But still, I mean, know what you're going to say. Like with the bankruptcy example, you could do like a financial tip of the day and just have those posting in addition to the other things that you're doing. And the last thing that I have on here is schedule a brainstorming meeting with your staff regarding community events. See what they're involved in, too. You know, if you have a receptionist or you have a paralegal, ask them, you know, what are you involved in? Is it something we could do as a firm? Sit down and just have some time set aside just to community and how you can get involved. So that's my list. I know probably, Tom, you have more to add to that.
No, that's good. I mean, like if you just do those 5 things, I mean, that's a great start, and that leads us into our next month and talking about attraction in more detail, some specifics. But I wanted to share with everybody a funny little note from our friend, Steve Richardson. And he says, I quote, having a bankruptcy practice is like running a VD clinic. No one wants to use you. They are embarrassed to come to you, and they don't want to talk to you about to their friends. Well, all I can say to my buddy Steve is, well, you opened the VD clinic, or you chose the bankruptcy world. I mean, you can change. That's your choice. And the other thing, too, though, is if you have successfully removed my VD, I will tell other people. Okay? If you have successfully given me, you know, great service and helped me with my bankruptcy so I'm not going to jail and, you know, my car is not gone, I'm going to tell people. And the other thing, too, is, I mean, I don't, and I'm just being a little flippant, I understand. There's a lot more to it than that. But you help people, people tell other people that are in their situation. That's how it goes. They might not want to publicly broadcast it and get on TV or the internet, you know, and do video testimonials on your website, but that does not mean that they are not telling other people about your good work. So those are two different things. You know, if you're no matter what kind of attorney you are, no matter what kind of practice that you're in, if you do a good job at it, they will tell their friends and their family about your service. And if they don't, I mean, like, and if that's not what you want to do, then you've got to be thinking about changing what you want to do. That's what it comes down to, I mean, honestly. And I think that really the biggest thing is that defining your goals. What are your goals? What are your goals with your practice? That's what it comes down to. Defining your perfect client is no different than defining your goals. And thinking of every way possible that you can achieve those goals in the shortest amount of time possible with the least amount of resource expenditure. That's what a good business person does. And so we're giving you a little quick roadmap for step 1 of that. So defining your perfect client. Step 2 will be attracting that perfect client. So you have to define your perfect client before you can attract them. And attracting, okay, good, Steve, that's good. Steve says, to clarify, I do get referrals. I just heard that story recently. So he's not talking about him. He's not running a VD clinic. Other people are. Okay, buddy. I know you're not running a VD clinic. Everybody knows that. All right. But anyway, so attraction is a lot like once you know what kind of fish that you want to catch, once you know it, once you've identified it, once you've understood some of its, once you understand some of its characteristics, then you can create the bait. Like you're a fisherman, right?
Yes, I am.
You go out fishing in your little boat on the weekends, right?
When I can.
And okay, so when you go out there, you go out there with soda to go fishing with?
No.
You put a soda can on the end of the...
Absolutely not.
You put bait.
I have different words for different imitation baits for different fish.
Right. So like rockfish, you can only catch rockfish around here a certain time of the year, right?
That's right. Yeah, you have to go in October, November. Water's a little cooler.
And they like a certain kind of bait.
Yep. They like spoons.
Okay.
Not actual spoons, so reflect a little.
It's a very specific kind of bait. So see, in rockfish, they're a very coveted fish, right?
Delicious.
They're delicious, and you can only go for them a certain period of time. White marlin, right? You can't go fishing, go get a white marlin in a Boston whaler.
You gotta go capsize your boat.
Right. So you have to have the right tools. And so identify your perfect client, and the next month we're going to talk about the specific bait to get that perfect client, attracting them. So that's where they come to your website or come to the social media, but that's only a third of it, right? Then we've got to convert that person that's already seen 8,000 other things very similar to yours. How do you convert them to be a lead? How do you convert them to put up their hand and say, I want to know a little bit more about you? Because the whole thing is that we want to get them out of the cesspool that is the internet as soon as possible. And that's the other thing that people don't think about is the retention piece, or how to retain someone. Because one is you attract the visitor to your website. Two, you convert them into a lead. It'd be great if they were like, you know what? I just did a search for Virginia personal injury attorney, and I see your great homepage with your great video, and I want to give you my entire $30 million case. Will you do it? I loved your website. I mean, that is so unrealistic. You've got to like do all the other parts too. Okay, so then that's where retention comes in. So once you get them and convert them from a visitor to a lead, and we're going to get more examples of that when we get into conversion. But Mindy talked, one thing is writing a book. Book is with information about how to do something that's very specific to your target client, and a successful book is not Virginia personal injury law. That's not a good book. No one cares about that. But I want to know the 5 mistakes that you will make in a Virginia personal injury case. That is more compelling. I want to know the 5 mistakes I'm going to make or the 5 mistakes not to make. So think about that too, because that can make the difference between something that converts and something doesn't. And then the final piece is retention. And that is getting them into your database, your back-end database, so you can get them on your newsletter, so you can get them into social media, so you can continue to market to them so they get information 3 to 12 months, forever and ever after initial contact, and they can refer you to other people in their world. This works, people. It has been working for years and years and years before the internet was around. The internet just makes it work faster. Okay, 2 minutes left. Mike, anything to add?
I'm good.
Mike is good. All right, well, we got our last thing here. Mindy, do you have anything to add before I do this?
I do not. I think we're going to be covering more in the next few webinars, so I have nothing else to add.
And another thing, too, these webinars are for you, and so if you have other information that you want to learn about that we're not covering, please let us know. Okay, got to give you the last and final pitch. So we have the FWM Academy on sale till the end of the month at a drastically reduced price. We've gotten a lot of great feedback from the people that were there and a lot of the people that have gotten it already on how helpful it is. It'll teach you how to do it all yourself. And almost everybody on this call is doing it themselves. And so if you were not there, if you're not getting this, it'd be a great investment for you to learn a lot of and execute a lot of what you've heard on this webinar so far. Any questions? We are here. Oh, we got another question?
Jonathan Cooper asks if we are going to have the materials as a written out summary for you. So Jonathan, what I'm going to do after this webinar, we have the recording. I'm also going to send a PDF of all the slides to everybody who was in attendance today. So you will have everything that was talked about today.
Yeah.
And Jonathan also says that picture of you, Tom, diving into the waters.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that was before P90X. See? And I got on P90X. Go back to that picture. See, that was me before P90X. And I had to take my lumps. It wasn't easy to get to this fantastic figure I have right now from there, right? But it can be done. All right, so there's hope for everybody. All right, guys, thank you very much. And Mindy, fantastic job. And looking forward to our next sequence, attraction. All right, everybody, take care and enjoy the rest of your August. Get ready for back to school. Adios.
See you guys.